a big part of 808s in drill music especially is the gliding 808. So in this instance, it's kind of at the end of every 4 bar, every 8 bar, you just give it a little swell, just an exciting little merge of it. I can't explain it, I'll just show it. Then this now. And then, so to get that effect, sometimes, a lot of the time for me and for us, I like, a lot of drill producers use quite MIDI distorted basses, which I personally don't actually like on the main, like to use as the main bass. I need it to be a full, almost traditional, a low-endy bass. But those basses don't lend themselves to glide as much. Whereas the ones that all the young drill producers use, which are more like mid-rangey, they do sound good glided. So in this case, we've used this 808 as like the main one. I'll mute that, and then just this one for the glide. So, and then over here. So that's 2 different 808s, one for the glide, one for the main bass basically. And it's good to use, it's good to do that because you want more of a mid-range in the glide so it cuts through and hears it more, but that mid-range bass might not be the one that you'd particularly want to use in the track to like give the weight to the track because there ain't no weight there. Hear it one more time. So yeah, you might want to use 2 different basses for that and add the glides in there. It's a very useful technique when it comes to, it's just an exciting sound, just another thing that sounds good, bit of ear candy for the listener. And yeah, using bass though rather than like a melodic sound. It's kind of like a grimy sound, a pretty nasty sound that people like. You know what I mean? It cuts through the speaker. So in Logic, to make the 808 glide, I use the sampler, same as most people. You have to go into this little section here that says details. Then you change the mode from, I think it starts on mono or poly, change that to legato. And then the glide over here, you just change that amount by sort of how much it glides by, how sort of obvious the glide is. And then play your bass in over here in MIDI. And it basically, where you overlap the note, where the notes overlap, that'll be where it glides. It'll glide into the next note basically. So essentially changing it to legato mode means it can only play one note at a time and it'll blend straight into the other one. And by adding the glide, rather than it just go into one then to the other, it'll glide into one note, into each note to sound like that. So for example, if I had it on poly, they'd just be going all over each other. Got to put it to legato, so each note stops as the other one starts. And then that's how it's done in Logic. So remember, put your glide on, set it to legato, jobs are good in. So that's how gliding 808s are done in Logic. So to summarize, you've got 808s or a real bass. In most electronic rap beats, you're going to use the 808. You want it to fill up the rest of your track, the bottom end of your track, make it boom through the speakers. Or in other more musical genres, you might just use the real bass and get someone to like fit in the groove in amongst the drums and the rest of the musical elements with that bass. But yeah, just all in all, make sure it just cuts through in that bottom end. That's the main point, whatever it is.